emotional pain from October 7th continues to be felt by so many people here in Israel who have lost loved ones from that October 7th massacre. I want to bring in my two guests in studio right now. I'm joined by Shay and Hagar Shimony, the daughter and granddaughter of Bracha Levinson, who was killed on October 7th when they attacked her Kibbutz community Nir Oz. Thank you both so much for joining me. First, tell me a little bit about your mother. Who was Bracha?
She was a kibbutz person. She grew up in a kibbutz, and then she got married in a kibbutz, and she lived in a kibbutz almost all her life. She loved the community. She loved the outdoor. She loved her small garden that she nurtured. She was full of life. She was still very young, 74. And she was very active. She worked. She was very active in the community life in the kibbutz, very loved by everyone. And of course, a wonderful, wonderful mom and grandma, and very attached to all her 8 grandchildren.
On October 7th, when you found out about really what was happening, what was your initial reaction, and did you know that your mother was one of the ones who had been killed by Hamas?
Actually, our story is very, very hard because the way that we found out about what happened, it started around 6:30 in the morning on Shabbat. We were in Tel Aviv, and it started bombing also in Tel Aviv. So immediately we went to the shelter and we contacted my mom, asked her how is she doing, if she's in the shelter. She said she's in the shelter. It's a lot of bombing that day, and she said she's fine, she's safe, and she was very worried about us and that making sure that we are safe. And we were talking to her and texting her until 6:50, and then around 7 a.m. my daughter Hagar, she was in a trip in Japan, and she texted in our family group that grandma just posted something very weird and asked all of us to go and see what it is. She couldn't understand what she's seeing. So we all got on her Facebook page, and we saw terrible, terrible, scary video of her lying in her living room in a pool of blood around her, and the terrorist pointing a gun over her like that. It was a few second video. We were hysterical. All the kids, my sister kids, we all watched it together, and everyone was screaming, and it was very scary. We couldn't understand what we were watching. Then we started calling people in the kibbutz, like people who live just across of her. I called her neighbor Adina. She is now kidnapped. Her husband is murdered. And I asked her if she can I couldn't understand what's going on, so I thought maybe she can go over and just see what's happened. So she answered that she's hearing lots of gunfire from the outside, and she think the army is there. It wasn't the army. So she couldn't go, and I called many people, and everyone said that it's impossible to go out and check on her. So we just waited all day long. We tried to call the police. We tried to call everyone we know to go there and help her, but no one answered or could go there. And just later on, I think it was the day after or in the evening, that we got a message from the kibbutz people after the army came in that the terrorists, they burned the place down with her inside. So we just recently got to the identification of the body of her.
How did that make it more difficult, having to wait so long for it to finally be confirmed and get the body identification?
Actually, it was terrible. The time that we waited in our mind, even though we saw the video and we saw the house, like it was all burned down, in my mind, I was thinking maybe there's a possibility that she was kidnapped and she's alive somehow. It was just a thought that went into my mind. So it was very difficult to be in the situation that you don't know what really happened. I think when we got the news, we can breathe again, I think. But it didn't took anything down from the terrible things that happened that day.
And that you had to see as well, Hagar, when you found that video and you sent it to your family, what were you thinking? What was going through your head?
I could not understand what I'm saying, even though the video is very clear. It's not like it's blurred or anything. It's very clear what you can see. But my brain could not comprehend what I'm saying. I could not understand that this is actually happening. I didn't even know that terrorists crossed the border yet, so I didn't think of that possibility at all. So I texted her and no reply, and I tried to understand what could have happened.
Such an unimaginable, no one, it's still in shock. So nearly 4 weeks later, how are you guys coping? How are you dealing with your grief?
Actually, it's not just about our personal family grief, and because many of our friends and my mom's neighbor and my mom's community that we all know because we grew up there, and my kids used to spend all summer there every summer, and we know so many people that was kidnapped. 1/4 of my kibbutz is not here anymore. I mean, it's like, I think almost 30 people were killed, and almost 70 something were kidnapped, and now they are in Gaza, and we don't know what's going on with them, and we're worried, and we just want them back here, because my mom, we cannot bring her back. I can understand that, and we will grieve on her for a long time, but the others, they are still alive, and they are over there, and we don't know in what conditions, and we just want the world to help us bring them back. This is the most important thing for us now.
How does that make it more difficult coping? Because as you said, it's just this unknown that so many Israelis are dealing with right now. It's 242.
It's crazy.
Remain held captive, kidnapped in Gaza.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And
innocent people that haven't done anything wrong. They were so helpless there, and people they took them, and now they're just so miserable. And also we feel like we're worried about them all the time. We are waiting to hear maybe they're going to be released soon, but it's a very terrible situation.
Also, the kibbutz community, they were always such a peaceful community. They believed in peace. They believe in coexist. They believe that we can be neighbors. They try to help in any way they know. And to think that they did such a horrible, terrible thing to them and to anyone, actually, it's just, your mind cannot understand this. It's just...
You grew up on a kibbutz, and so you understand the community, the family. It really is a family atmosphere. But also, as you said, such peaceful people. Going forward, how do you rebuild these kibbutz communities?
That's a good question, because we really don't know. Because the people, they are now in Eilat, in a hotel, and they all want so much to go on and live together in the community that they build. Really amazing community, sharing and loving. But many of them think that it will be very hard to go back to the trauma over there. And I mean, I guess they will wait until they feel that this place is safe again. Because actually, we were there on a weekend, like 2 weeks before, with all the grandchildren, and we were there. We were sleeping in her house, in the same living room that it happened. So if we were there, I mean, we think about it all the time. We felt very safe. We felt so safe when we were there. We couldn't imagine something like this can happen. We trust everyone. We trust the army. We trust them to not do such terrible things.
And that's the last time you were there with your grandmother. What's the last memory?
She was so happy. Everyone were around her, and yeah, she was so alive. She hosted us and
taking care of everybody's needs, asking if we need anything we'd like to eat, just kissing and hugging all of us and laughing together, and just it was a very wholesome holiday together with her.
It sounds like even on October 7th, she was asking about you, your safety. How are you doing in Tel Aviv? It sounds like that was very much in her character and her nature. What would you want people to remember about her and know about her?
Just of how loving she was. She was so loving and generous, just accepting everybody without judgment and just spreading love all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And that's
and I'm hoping that she didn't suffer for long, because it was quick. I hope it was quick and she didn't suffer and she didn't have the time to think. I hope so.
Shay Shimony and Hagar Shimony, thank you so much for continuing to share your mother, your grandmother, her story, as well as all of the others from Kibbutz Nir Oz who continue to be held captive by Hamas. 242, as we said, 27 days. Thank you so much for coming on here and continuing to speak out for those who can't speak right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.